Hi everyone, I'm Ashley. I'm the Family Experience Manager here at the museum and we're located in downtown Kitchener. We are super excited for you to join us for this year's Science Odyssey programming. Our theme for this year is going to be sound, and that is going to help us celebrate our exhibition, SONICA, the Sound Experience. But before we get started with the walkthrough of the exhibition and the sound activities, we're going to do a little land acknowledgement. So the museum is located in downtown Kitchener, and this area has been home to Indigenous people for generations. Specifically in this area, it's been home to the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Neutral people. It's really important that we're grateful for the people who have been stewards of this land, but also that we're grateful for the land itself. So I'm personally very grateful for the sounds that I can hear around me in the area that I live. And I think my favorite is probably the sound of birds the first thing in the morning. So do you have something about the land that you're really grateful for? Why don't you share in the comments? All right, so today we're going to be learning about SONICA, the sound experience, and about sound. This exhibition features 8 artists and artist groups who've all created some cool piece of art or work of art to explore sound in lots of different ways. It'll get us to think about sound, talk about sound, hear sounds, and feel sounds. So let's go ahead and get started. This is a pipeophone. So this art installation is put together by Open Ears, which is a collaboration between Scott Lindsay and Richard Burrows. This is a bunch of pipes that you can hit with a mallet. And each of these pipes make a different sound. This pipeophone is kind of tuned a little bit like a piano. So if you notice, the pipes are different colors. They're green and yellow. And if you've ever played a piano, the green pipes would kind of be the same sorts of things as the white keys on a piano or a keyboard, and the yellow pipes would be the black keys. So the greens are the natural notes, and the yellows are the sharps and the flats, and you can see that written on these notes here. Now, the pipeophone is a really cool way for us to start learning or talking about the idea of sound. Now, can anybody take a guess? What is sound? Do you know? Well, sound is a wave. It's also a vibration, so it's kind of like two things here. And in this case, what's happening is I'm taking my mallet, I am striking a pipe, and the pipe is vibrating in response. It's moving back and forth. And when that happens, it makes the air around it vibrate back and forth, and that wave is what we're able to hear. So I'll do it again. And you can hear the first strike of the note, and then you might hear like a teeny little bit of a kind of a cleaner note at the end.
When we think of waves, we may think of ripples or waves in water. There's an up and down movement. Those are familiar to us, and these are called transverse waves. But sound waves are a back and forth movement, not up and down. When sound is made, it makes particles in air, liquids, or solids move back and forth, and the sound travels out from where it was made. The particles vibrate. This is a longitudinal wave. But drawing a transverse wave is a helpful way for us to picture these vibration waves from sound, and we can match up the compression and expansion where the particles squish together and spread out in the sound wave to the up and down parts of the transverse wave.
So what I want you guys to do is I would like you guys to touch your fingers to your throat very, very gently. You don't want to press hard. And if you talk or hum or sing, you'll feel your fingertips kind of buzzing. And what you're feeling right there is your vocal cords. And those vocal cords are vibrating, and that's how we're able to make sound. So while I'm talking to you guys, I can feel my fingertips tingling or buzzing where they're pressing against my vocal cords. So why don't you guys do that with me now? So we'll kind of I want you guys to try making a really high-pitched squeaky sound. So, and then try a really rumbly deep sound. You may notice that the vibration in your vocal cords sounds really different. And that difference in the sound and the vibrations has to do with something called pitch.
But before we get too far into explaining pitch, let's explore the parts of a sound wave in a little more detail. I'm going to use a transverse wave to explain the parts, just because it's easier to see. You can see that the wave has parts that go up and parts that go down. On a transverse wave, we call that the crest and the trough. But in our vibration wave or longitudinal wave, these parts show the compression, where parts squish together, or rarefaction, where particles spread out. Next, we need to think about how long the wave is from crest to crest or trough to trough. This is called the wavelength, the length of the wave. The frequency is the number of times a wave crest passes a certain point. As the wavelength changes, so does the frequency, but kind of in the opposite direction, and that gives us information about the pitch. Finally, we have the amplitude, and that's the height of the wave from the middle. Okay, now that I've explained the parts of a wave, let's get back to the tour.
So a high-pitched sound has really, really short waves. The frequency of the waves is very short, but a deep-pitched sound, so a sound that's lower or more rumbly, has a longer wave or longer frequency wave. So again, I'll play the high pitch up here and then the low pitch. And you can hear the difference between the notes. And there's another one. So that up here was one, and then I'll do another one here. And these are all about the same note, and they're all kind of spaced out across the entire piphophone. The other cool thing about sound is the volume of sound. So when that also has to do with the wave. And so if I tap on one of these pipes really quietly, you may barely be able to hear it. I'll do it again really quietly. So it's a very quiet sound. And when we think back to our wave, our sound wave, that wave is very, very short and very small and very quiet. But if I were to hit my piphophone pipe very hard, we're going to get a much louder note. So you guys ready? 1, 2, 3. And that's much louder. And so our waves are much taller. So that's the difference. That's how we can think of sound as a wave and how the wave will change depending on the pitch. So that's how high or low the note is, or the volume of the note. So quiet or loud. All right, so one more thing we're gonna do with our piphophone is I'm gonna get you guys to join me in a little song, and I want you guys to, again, you're gonna hold your fingers very gently to your vocal cords, and we're gonna sing, I think, we'll do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and I want you guys to feel how the vibrations in your vocal cords change as you move through the notes. So I'll play it first so you guys can kind of remember the song. So. So I'm gonna play it all the way through, and I want you guys to sing along. And remember to feel your vocal cords gently and see if you can feel the vibrations. Now, if you're paying very careful attention, you may also feel some muscles working in your throat, and those are the muscles that control your vocal cords to help you make the different types of sounds and the different notes. All right, you guys ready? Good job, guys. So that was a quick introduction to sound using the piphophone. Now, before we leave, I have a question. So these pipes, what do you think they're made of? Any guesses? Well, these are made of irrigation pipes. So they're refurbished or repurposed or recycled irrigation pipes. And irrigation pipes are used to carry water in farming. And one of the cool things about this piece is that the artists were really keen to use sort of unconventional or different materials to make an instrument, basically. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that or try that kind of thing at home, you can check out a video that we recorded a couple of weeks ago with one of the artists, Richard Burroughs, and he did a found sound workshop that you can check out on our YouTube page, and we'll have a link to that video in the description. called Tambour Space, and the entire installation is interactive but no touch. Behind me there's a Connect monitor or Connect camera that's picking up where I'm standing, so as long as I stay perfectly still, it won't set it off. But if I move within the space, you can hear these different noises are coming out. And so what the artist did was he created this grid, this cube of 512 sounds. And each time the Connect picks up someone in the space moving in a certain way, it causes a sound to kind of, pick up and go quiet. So you can hear if I stop moving, the sound stops, but if I move a little bit, you can hear it again. Now what's super cool about this is that even though these sounds are all very different, they're all roughly the same note. So each of the sounds are tuned to the key of to about F. There are some other things in here that make it sound a little different, but mostly they're all kind of at the same note. And what helps us tell that these sounds are all still very different is something called timbre, which is where the piece got its name from.
So the sound wave I've been showing you would represent a pure sound. There's only one wave with one frequency and amplitude and one wavelength. It'd be something like a tuning fork. But as you know, the sounds we hear around us aren't just a single note or a tone. So what's going on? Well, sound is very complex, and when we hear something, it's a whole bunch of sounds playing on top of each other. These harmonics are similar to the main sound, but they give the sound wave that hits our ears a different quality, so we can tell instruments, voices, and sounds around us apart. In Tambour Space, all the sounds have different textures or color, so we can tell them apart, and it's not just a single ringing sound. But because they're all at the note of F, the sounds still go together without sounding jumbled or discordant.
All right, so we're going to try to be able to get an idea of what sound looks like, to visualize sound. So I talked about how sound is a vibration, and we hear sound with our ears. And this bowl and saran wrap is a pretty good way of visualizing how our ears work, and specifically the part called our eardrum. So I've got, if you want to try this at home, you're more than welcome to. So I've got a bowl here, and I've covered it in saran wrap, and you want to make sure it's quite tight and kind of pull like a drum skin. So very, very even, no bits are sagging in. And I've got some sprinkles here. So I'm going to put the sprinkles on, and as I'm moving through the rockaby piece, or the Tambour Space piece, you're gonna get a good look at this bowl with sprinkles on it, and you'll be able to see how the sound from all these speakers are affecting the bowl and affecting the saran wrap. So take a careful look. I'm gonna get a bit of a flash noise, like just sneak in and drop the sprinkles. So, all right, it's just a couple. All right, and I'm gonna move around.
Our ear is a wonderfully complex organ, and we use it to help capture sound. Sound hits our outer ear, or our auricle, our pinna, and travels through the ear canal. And this is where it starts to get interesting. It hits a structure called the tympanic membrane, or the eardrum. And the eardrum is attached to 3 teeny tiny bones in our skull called the malleus, incus, and stapes. These 3 bones vibrate and send a signal from the eardrum to an organ in our head called the cochlea. This then sends signals to our brain, and we're able to recognize those signals as sound. We can get a better look at how the eardrum would vibrate in response to sound by using a tuning fork.
So we can hear sound with our ears, but we can also feel sound. So have you ever been in a really loud environment and you feel like you can, and you feel the vibrations, feel the sound through your skin or through your body? Well, those sound waves will travel through air into our eardrums, but sound can also travel through liquids like water, and it can travel through solids too. And so when we feel sound, that's because those sound waves are coming in contact with our skin, they're making us feel the vibrations. So another way that you can kind of feel sound is if you use a balloon. So I've got here just a regular balloon that I've filled up with air. So it's pretty full and the sort of rubber is quite tight. And if you want to give this a try, you can feel sound vibrations through your fingertips. So if I hold the balloon gently, and you want to hold it where the rubber is taut, you don't want to hold it at the kind of the tied end where it's all kind of bunched together. If I hold it here, every time the piece makes some sound, I can feel vibrations through my fingertips, which is kind of neat. So if you want to give this a try at home and try to feel sound, you can use a balloon and feel those vibrations through your fingertips. So you can hold it up maybe to your voice and see what your voice feels like through your fingers. Or maybe you hold it up next to an instrument or next to the TV. You can kind of get a sense of what those vibrations, what those sound waves feel like. All right, guys, so our next little thing with sound is going to involve you to close your eyes. So I want you guys to just shut your eyes and listen really carefully and think about what it is you're hearing. You ready? All right, eyes closed. No peeking. Are you peeking? I said eyes closed. Okay, you ready? What did you guys think that sound was? Did you think it was the ocean? It did sound a lot like the ocean, didn't it? Well, actually, it was this thing. So this is an ocean drum. It's quite a large ocean drum, and when you think of a drum, you think of something that you would hit with a drumstick or hit with your hands. And it does have a skin or a drum skin on it that is like a regular drum, but instead of hitting it, what I did was I was moving it around. And you got that really cool, kind of relaxing sound that was like the ocean or like waves crashing on the shore. And inside of this ocean drum are thousands of little tiny beads or little tiny balls. And as I tilt the drum, those little balls move around and they rattle. The little balls move around and they rattle against the inside of this drum, and it creates this really nice ocean sound. Now, sometimes we might get sounds mixed up with each other. We may think that something that sounds like, I don't know, maybe a tricycle honk was actually like a goose or something like that. We may get sounds confused because every time we hear something, we're comparing it to what we know and trying to remember, okay, that sounds like this, so maybe it's this. But in this case, sometimes we can make things that sound like things in nature. And this is kind of cool. This is a really neat, relaxing kind of instrument. So if you think of something like this at home, like is there an instrument or something that you can make at home that might sound similar to something in nature, or that you can use as an instrument or something like that, you can give that a try at home. So I'm gonna move this around for another couple seconds. All right, last up, we've got sound portraits. So this is an interactive installation that's actually dotted throughout the entire exhibition. There are these QR codes that you could scan with your phone, but if you're home watching this, you can actually visit the website, so I'll show you that in a second. And the way the sound portraits work is that it takes this really cool dynamic selfie where see the picture of yourself, but the sounds around you influence how the picture looks. And it's an interesting way of getting a picture or visualizing or thinking about seeing sound around you. And the artist wanted to kind of tackle the question of tackle the idea that we can't really stop hearing things. Like, we can't not hear sounds that are around us, and sometimes maybe there are sounds that we don't really want to hear, but we can't escape them. And so what I think would be kind of cool is if you went to the website, and it's up on the screen here, and you can visit the Sound Portraits website, do your sound selfies at different places. So maybe you did a sound portrait at the park, or on a trail, or maybe by a busy road, and compare the different sound portraits that you get. What do they look like? Are those different places noisier or quieter environments? It's kind of an interesting thing to think about. All right, I'm going to show you how you can use the Sound Portraits website to make a sound selfie. So I'm going to whip out my phone here. And in this case, I'm going to be using the QR codes. And I will pull up my camera. So I'll put it there. It'll say See Sound Portraits, and I'm going to open that in my Safari app. When you visit the site, you're going to have to give it permission to use your phone's camera and microphone in order to actually make the sound portrait. So Sound Portraits would like to access your microphone and camera, and I'm going to press Allow. And it'll take a second for it to pick up. Oh, and that's me. So you can see these little waves are happening as I'm speaking, every time they're flickering, and that's the microphone picking up my sounds and causing my selfie to get a little distorted. So if I make a deep rumbly noise or a high-pitched squeaky noise, it'll change the sound a little bit and change the portrait. And if you press this green button in the middle, it'll take a selfie. So I'll press that here so you can get the selfie. Oh, it's thinking about it. All right, so that's what it looks like. That's the sound portrait of me in this space talking. So if you have a chance to check it out, so I'll take another sound portrait here, and I'm gonna be a little quieter. Again, I'll give it permission. Now, even with me not saying anything, you may notice that there's a bit of rippling happening in the portrait, and that's because there's like a vent somewhere nearby, and my microphone's able to pick that up. So I'll just be quiet and take a selfie with me not talking. All right, so that's my sound selfie without me yammering on. So if you want to give that a try, I think it'd be kind of cool if you took pictures in different locations. Again, like try a quiet location, try a really loud location. How does that picture look, and how do you feel? Like I said, sound is all around us, and sometimes we can't really choose what we hear, and it's something to think about, whether or not we are enjoying the sound, whether or not we want it somewhere quieter, how does it make us feel emotionally. There's lots going on with what we can think about with sound. But the Sound Portraits website, like I said, is up on the screen, and you can visit it and do a selfie using the sound around you. All right, everyone, I hope you had a good time learning about our SONICA exhibition and learning a little bit about sound. If you want to give those demos that I showed you a try, we'd love to see what you do. Be sure to tag us at the various hashtags, and we hope to see you soon.